the most dangerous thing is misogynistic women who want to harm other women so that they'll get validation by men. Men who absolutely hate women, who do not see them as equals. They see them as something beneath them, a placeholder or a trophy that you can show off. But God forbid she has any opinions or any ideals that don't align with the patriarchy. Hello. So my last video is a bit of a crash out. It needed to be said. I needed to get it out. I don't know. I regret nothing. So there's been a lot going on in the world, and a lot of it isn't all bad. A lot of it is actually like it feels like the bad things have brought a lot of people together. So many people are like, this is not okay and we don't stand for it, and we're going to be better humans. And I think that's a really beautiful, beautiful thing that's happening. Let me just say hi to JoJo. Hi, JoJo. Hi, baby. Hi. You're so pretty. You have a good day, okay, pretty girl? It's our horse friend. Let's see if we can see her in the... There she is. It really feels like people are kind of coming to the conclusion that to be the good, they have to become the good. So while there are tons of terrible people out there, the list... I'm just going to say the list. It's disgusting and repelling and literally mind-boggling to know that there are humans that are just that evil in the world. And I think it's cultivated something in the majority that are not like that. That's like, I need to embody the world that I want to see. And so we're really seeing a shift and I think that's really beautiful. The things that have come to light are not beautiful. They're terrible and they're heartbreaking and disgusting and revolting but somebody I really want to talk about is Mamdani. He's amazing. He's the mayor of New York, and it really feels like he's healing the city by being a good leader. And he's really an example of what our leadership could look like in this country if those who were in power and in leadership positions cared enough. And it's just a beautiful thing to see how New York, the city itself, is actively healing from having this energy be in a leadership position. So they have this huge blizzard that's going on right now, or I think it's coming out of it. There's snow all over the place. The last time they had a blizzard like this in New York was in 2016. And so I think a lot of the New Yorkers are just really enjoying the fact that there's no work, there's no school, and you just see everyone having literally a snow day, and the community feeling that is included in that is so beautiful. And I just watching these things has just kind of healed part of my heart, because all this terrible stuff has come to the light, and it's like, what are we living for? What is the point of this if this is what people can do that are in power? And so seeing somebody in a leadership position that doesn't take that role, that takes the time to be there for others and cares about their city is just, it's heartwarming and it's so needed right now. Another thing that I want to talk about that I'm just I wasn't going to leave for an hour, and I'm I really want to talk about this stuff, so I'm just going to leave now so I can do my little vlog. But I'm going to my girlfriend's house again. We got to take her extensions off. The U.S. men's hockey team and their cute little jokes with the president is so disappointing, to have that focus on you and choose to exist in a way that takes you back just centuries of what we would hope to have come from. You see other countries that are really uplifting women. I can't remember which country it was. I was just talking to my grandfather about this. One of the countries, it's not Norway. It might be New Zealand. I need to find the thing because I screenshotted it, but they just made it illegal so that men cannot make more money than women. So, and in China, they just put the death penalty on for people who harm children in a way that children should never be touched or thought about at all. And so we're seeing where other countries are revolted by what's coming out in the list, and they're adapting in a way that would help their citizens become more safe. And so it's being Being a woman in America, especially, is such a violent experience, not just like once a week or maybe once a month, but it's a violent experience every single day to be a woman, especially in this country where it's supported to be misogynistic. It's supported to be abusive. It's supported and upheld to just talk down on women because they make you uncomfortable, which is kind of like what we're seeing in a way. The U.S. Olympic women's team, I mean, I'm pretty sure they got their gold before the men with way less than the men were given to get to that point. And I just want to reiterate that as a woman, the most dangerous thing is misogynistic women who want to harm other women so that they'll get validation by men. Men who absolutely hate women, who do not see them as equals. They see them as something beneath them, a placeholder or a trophy that you can show off, but God forbid she has any opinions or any ideals that don't align with the patriarchy. We're seeing this on a full scale right now, and what's coming from it is women everywhere are freaking outraged. Women everywhere are like, what is this? And this is exactly what should be happening. And there are quite a few men who are also not agreeing with this. They're standing up and saying, this is wrong. You know, my mother is a woman and she raised me better than that. And there was one man that was saying, you know, I called my mom and she said, you know, if you ever acted like that, I would make you write an apology letter, and then I would make you go down to the U.S. women's team and read it out loud to them. And I think one of the reasons that I'm just so like, this is such a problem is because the things that I've dealt with for the last 14 years is that a woman, a mother, has seen the terrible choices her son has made and has gone, I'm going to support my baby boy, instead of holding him accountable or just stepping away and not being a part of it. That is a perfect example of a woman who is unsafe for other women. That is a perfect example of a woman who just doesn't care about how her lack of safety is affecting other women. And so I think that's why I just need to talk about this. It's not something women can change because there are so many men that do not respect women. There are so many men.
I did it right.
Absolutely not. I don't respect women. I don't want to help women. I don't care about how they feel or their lack of safety or the things that are just happening every single day to women. These men are problems. And the only way that we can get past these issues, the only way that we can solve this is if other men step up and say, absolutely not. This is not okay. I don't support this. And that's what we're not seeing. We're not seeing men say, this is not okay. We're seeing the majority laugh and make shitty sexist jokes like it's something new or it somehow rewarded. And as a man, I'm assuming you do get rewarded when you're misogynistic and sexist and put women down. And if you're a weak man or a small man, it probably feels good to put a woman down because women, who gives a shit? So I know that what my son is being taught is along these lines of this toxic fucking behavior. It's okay to be abusive. It's okay to not take accountability. It's okay to do some shit and then blame the woman for your choices instead of just taking accountability. It's easier to live in that shame and continue repeating it than to change the cycle. So what the world is really calling for right now more than ever is the men who see this and don't want it to continue for their sisters, for their mothers, for their children. And they want to dead the cycle. This is what our world needs now more than ever. And I'm assuming from a man's standpoint, it's probably pretty overwhelming, especially if you surround yourself with men who see these things and go, that's okay. That's so funny. It's an absolutely disgusting way to exist. And it is so prominent in America more than anywhere else. And my mind is blown at the fact that so many I mean, I've seen so many women that are like, I broke up, I'm divorcing my husband. Like this is shattering lives. Men acting like this and coming to the forefront and opening their mouths when the women in their lives thought that they were safe and okay and like appreciated. They're now seeing how unsafe the men that they've chosen are. And they're being forced to uproot their lives to try to protect themselves and their children. Because as a woman, as a mother, you do not want a man like this. They're going to teach your children that it's okay to act like this. They're going to show your children by way of their living example that this is how women should be treated, and in turn creating another generation of unsafe people. And I think the biggest thing with America right now is that we need to find that safety, not just as women, but in general, as a community. And there needs to be accountability. And the lack of accountability is why there are so many fucking problems. The lack of accountability and the need to just be right or get away with something. You know, like there are so many people who have an issue with those who have been victimized by this type of behavior. There's so many of these people that are causing this victimization and going, well, how dare they speak up? Well, if you don't want someone to speak on the terrible things that you do, don't do terrible things to people. The math is very simple. And my heart goes out to the women who are connected to those hockey players, because I can't imagine the hockey player's mother who helped him get to every practice, supported him, got him to that space. She's also a coach for the women's hockey team. And then he goes out and says the shit that he did. That, I can't even imagine how that must have broken her heart. I mean, but then again, I have a hard time. I don't like to assume, but it's hard to believe that the women that have just been put through this by their own sons are like, it's impossible to believe that they're just sitting there like, yeah, that was so funny. Look at my son being a misogynistic asshole. It's really hard to believe that these women are okay with this stuff. It's hard to believe that even if they were laughing along with them, there must be some form of heartbreak in that. There must be some form of, oh my God, my son's one of them. And again, I'll just repeat, the things I've been dealing with is because a woman like this has backed her son with the terrible decisions he's made. So we really need to come to the forefront and talk about the mothers, the boy moms. He's just like that. That's just my son. Really? He's not just like that. You taught him it was okay to be like that. And now the whole world is suffering because you couldn't have the capacity to hold him accountable. And so I can't even imagine what it must be like to be those women connected to those men. So I'm assuming some of those men are married. And the hockey culture in general seems to be really unhealthy for women. There's a thing going on in Canada, which I didn't get fully into it, where there's trials going on about men who have forced themselves on women. And now there's a large trial for it in Canada. The time of treating women like this is pretty much dead. Like the patriarchy is setting itself on fire at this point. And watching the people fight to keep it alive, fight to allow these people to continue acting this way is really eye-opening. And it should be eye-opening to people who weren't really paying attention. You know, if you have a man in your life and he's not just disgusted with this, then you might need to sit down and have a conversation with him. As a woman, if you're living with a man or connected to a man who is okay with this and it isn't immediately revolted and enraged, then he may be unsafe for you. And men who are insecure with women in general, they're insecure that the woman might be better than them or that they might outshine them. Those men are unsafe because the way that they show their insecurity, if they can't vocalize it, they go to physical activities. They move to a physical vocalization of that. And that's where we see domestic violence. That's where we see things come to the forefront where, again, most of the time, the law will support the abuser rather than the one that's being abused. And our world, our country cannot become a safe space for anyone if this is continued. So my heart goes out to the women who are connected to these men because I can only imagine being so proud of your husband and then watching him say that immediately. And then, the president saying, well, if I don't invite the women's hockey team, maybe they'll impeach me. So the 32,000 times that you were fucking listed on that list, that you were mentioned on that list, the man who created that list thought that man was evil. That man, all of this, that isn't going to get you impeached. But not inviting the women's hockey team, well, I highly doubt that, dude. No one wants to be around that. No healthy person wants to be around that. And so we're just seeing in real time how large the delusion scale runs and how many people are a part of the problem. And if you're a woman and you have someone in your life like that, I hope you have the courage to leave them. I hope you have the courage to cut them out of your life and cultivate a reality that's safer for you. Because as women, we don't have as many opportunities as men. We don't have as many things just cleared out of the way for them. It's like Taylor Swift's song, I wonder how much faster I would have gotten here if I was a man. It's not that women are hating on men. We don't hate all men. We hate the toxic ones. We can't stand the ones that see this behavior and cheer it on. And so as a woman, I'm just going to request that other women do a little bit of their due diligence when it comes to the men in their life. How do they feel about this? Another thing I want to point out that I see a lot of women, this is something I didn't think about when I was younger, but you should not be sharing your body with a man who wouldn't fight for your rights. If he wouldn't fight for your rights to say no, to have your own choice, then he shouldn't have access to your body. He shouldn't have access to your energy. He can go hang with the men because most men that are out like this, they perform for other men. They're doing this behavior for other men. They don't like women. They don't care about women. They don't respect women. They do this for the men that they respect. They want to be respected by men who act this way. So it's this really kind of violent loop that unless something changes drastically, I think things are going to get a lot harder for men. And I know that there's that ideal of the loneliness epidemic. No. For years, men kept saying, this is just how I am, choose better. And the women have gone, okay, and they've chosen themselves. They've chosen their peace. They are okay with getting old with a bunch of cats and chilling in their houses and reading books if that's what we need to do. And again, luckily, all men are not like this. I'm not currently dating someone like this. There are good men out there. There are good men that will stand up for you and say, this is not right. But the thing is that they're few and far between right now, and we need all of them to stand up. We need all of them to be as enraged as women feel every time we leave our home and there's some ridiculous thing happening that's risking our safety. And I really hope that at some point it will shift to a higher standard. Because again, like I mentioned, Mom Donnie, that man isn't like that. That man respects women. He respects all humans because of the way he treats not just his city, but every person he comes into contact with. That's a present man. That's a man that's a good example for other men. And we have so few of those right now, and they're so, so needed. And that's why I wanted to bring him up, because the things he's doing for the city and for the people of New York, it's like it's healed parts of them. It's healed the city in a way that they feel safe and they feel seen. And it's such a wholesome energy. The energy has completely shifted over there. And it makes me low-key have FOMO that I'm not in New York playing in the snow with everybody. Shaun White went out and was just snowboarding in Central Park with everybody. Everyone's like, oh, this guy's like Shaun White. And then he takes his hat off and it's Shaun White, So there are really good men out there, but we need them to be louder. They need to be as loud as the women are about our outrage. And I wouldn't say that I stay enraged, because that's just not really a healthy place to be for your nervous system. But I do try to talk about things when they need to be talked about. And this really needs to be discussed. It needs to be discussed and it needs to be a consistent conversation we're having so that our children and our children's children and our grandmothers and the women who can't protect themselves are protected, are safe. They feel safe. They feel seen. I'm really having a hard time caring about a lot of these men because they show us who they are. And when they show you who they are, you need to believe them. If you don't believe them, then you put yourself at risk. So if there is a man in your life that was watching that whole issue, that ridiculous phone call with the hockey guys, and they were okay with it, that man is not safe for you. There's nothing that you can say or lie to yourself about that would change that fact. If men agree and think it's funny and are like, oh yeah, the women, even though the women are much better than them, there's a need for you to adjust your life, if for no other reason than to keep yourself safe. So anyway, I'm close to Woodburn. Me and Divvy are going to see the baby and my bestie, and we're going to take out our extensions. And then later this week, I'm going to go to, well, I don't know what part of North Dakota somewhere. My guy always takes me on adventures. It's just says, let's just go. We go on adventures a lot. That's really fun, especially with the fact that I'm still blocked from talking to my child. And I was actually discussing this with them where I have this thing with my autism where if it's like not in my immediate vicinity, it's not that I completely forget about it, but I become focused on what is near me. And I think that has saved me in a big way in regards to being a mother who's just kept from her child. And I think a lot of other mothers will probably be constantly reminded of it. For a while I was, and that's why I had such a drinking problem in my 20s. So I had a hard time dealing with that. Now I'm much healthier, and like, I'm lucky if I even get through a full thing of green tea. So I've cut caffeine out of my life, and alcohol I drink when I is good with food. I wouldn't say that I'm an alcoholic at all. Like, that's not the problem. Now it's like, ooh, this would be really good with this type of wine. Like, I'm kind of older and I like to mix the foods together, like how wine should be drank, I'm pretty sure. So I wouldn't say that I've completely cut off alcohol, because I do enjoy drinking with the right meal. The wine will just make it so much better. And I love to eat. I really do love to eat. But my autism has saved me from so much in that regard, because my brain doesn't work like a normal neurotypical. So where that would be something that just breaks everybody down, that's not an issue I'm having. It's not something that's causing problems for me. It's my brain allows me to keep going, and I don't break down. And I do worry a bit that my kiddo thinks that I just don't care. My brain just doesn't work in a way that keeps me sad 24/7. And I think God blessed me with that on purpose, because what do you mean I've got a child's father who's actively kept me from my child for 14 years just in hopes of trying to hurt me, So that's a gift from God, to not have that constantly be a reminder, and that I'm able to hyper focus on what I'm working on. And I've learned to take that pain and use it as fuel to better myself. I'm really, really grateful that I have the makeup that I do, that my DNA and my brain and all of it is just the way it is, because I probably would have crumbled a lot sooner and not been able to get myself out. And there were a few times where I couldn't pick myself up, and it felt like I was just drowning. And that's, again, when I was drinking the most heavily and just making terrible decisions in life. And I was choosing to be around people that would punish me in a way that I thought that I deserved to be punished. For instance, choosing men that hated women, knowing that they would treat me terribly. Because I was raised by men who respected women. My father was gay, and he respected women more than anyone I've ever met in my life. He taught me what it looks like to have a man respect a woman. And he was also one to come to the forefront and stand up for women if they needed it. So I was never raised around weak men. And being around them in my 20s, where I was in Vegas, there are a lot of men over there that are fabulous, but the most of the ones that I surrounded myself with to make sure I was getting this punishment, they were not strong men. They were mentally weak, and they needed to physically harm women or break them down in a way publicly, humiliate them so that they felt better about themselves, because they didn't feel big enough to be around the women. And that's also something I really want to highlight is the insecurity in men. It can come out in so many different ways. But most times you can tell when a man doesn't like you. But if you're surrounded by men who just can't stand women and you're just always surrounded by them, it can be really hard to decipher between a man that supports and respects women and a man who's just there because he wants to get things from you as a woman. I think I've said a woman like 1,000 times in this 20-minute video. So that's fun. But yeah, that's just all I really wanted to get off my chest today. So it's so important, especially for younger girls, to be able to decipher between the two. And if there's someone in your life that's making you feel badly about your growth or the things that you love to do, or just trying to minimize who you are in a way that is not safe, or they just, they don't care in that regard. If they don't care in that regard, you put your life at risk. And I'm speaking from experience as a woman who chose a man for 10 plus years that would harm me in different ways every single day. And because of my own past and the fact that I don't have my child, I felt like I deserved it. And I put myself through so much pain. So if you are someone who is surrounded by these type of people and you can't really get rid of them, or you feel like you keep getting rid of them, but then you attract more like that, start to heal yourself. Start to heal the parts of yourself that you keep giving away to others. If you need to be seen by others, ask yourself, why can't I be seen? Why can't I just see myself and that be enough? There's always parts within that will literally show you what you need from someone else, because we don't actually need anything from anyone else. We need it from ourselves. And we've been taught to get it outside of ourselves. So if there's something that you're yearning for from another person and you're just not receiving it, you have to know that we share and connect with people the way we are. So if you're a lover girl and you're trying to spread love to someone else and you just aren't getting that reciprocated, it's because you're not meant to give that love to anyone else. You're meant to be that love for yourself. And that is the hardest part. If you have any trauma, or if you've been raised around people that made you feel unworthy for being who you are, they made you feel like you were too much for being who you are. It is the hardest part of healing, is learning to teach yourself to be worthy for them. I'm a mother who's been kept from her child, and for years I blamed myself for these other people's choices. There's a whole group of them working together to keep me from my child. And I identified with the narrative for so long. And it broke me in ways that, I can't take some things back. I can't. Some of the experiences that I lived through and I've survived, I can never change those. They were bodied within me for so long. And so if you're someone who's like, well, how do I heal? Because I just feel so many things and it's hard and journaling is too much. Try yin yoga. I will always, always, always be an advocate for yin yoga. Our fascia is what holds so much of our trauma. Our body takes on our trauma, but our fascia especially. If you see that you're starting to look older and your face is kind of drooping, do yin yoga, because our fascia is where our youth lies. And if you haven't been stretching your fascia and working in a way to build it up, you're gonna feel old and run down, which doesn't help with depression. It doesn't help you get up in the morning. It's like a pain to want to go and work out or do anything. That depression takes over, and it feels impossible. And it's not impossible, but it feels that way. And so I don't want to minimize anyone's feelings or what they might be going through. I just want to stress that when you can find a way to connect with your body and feel safe in your body, that is when you can begin to heal the things that you're seeking from other people. And the reason that you're seeking it from other people right now is because it's not healed within you. And so we've been taught, again, to look outside of ourselves to find these things. So anyway, I'm kind of all over the place and I'm about to have to take my exit and I'll need my ways. But I just really wanted to point that out. If you've allowed insecure men into your life, choose yourself and choose your happiness. And it might be hard. I remember leaving my ex. I went back to him so many freaking times. I went back to that man so many times before I was able to respect myself enough to never go back to him. To go, this is something I never want to deal with again. I don't deserve this. And when you can say I don't deserve this is when everything shifts. Everything changes in that moment. So I hope that if you're in a space where you're having to like remove people, I hope that you can find the worthiness within yourself because you are worthy of love. And if no one can give you that love and support, you damn well need to be that love and support for yourself. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to let you guys go. And yeah, we'll talk to you some other time.